Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mellissa Thomas with Florida National News, here to bring you guys the FNN Politics and Power Series. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. This one's a bit of a special edition, a bit of a special episode. I know it's not the usual 1 p.m. time frame, but a good conversation nonetheless. Today, we will be speaking with Cynthia Harris, who is currently running for Orange County Commission District 6. She's running for District 6 for Orange County. So without further ado, I'm not going to take too much time with a long and deep intro. I'm just going to bring her right into the show. So, Cynthia, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking the time. We appreciate you. So, kind of talk to our audience about what made you decide to choose District 6 in Orange County.
Well, I live in District 6. I've always lived in District 6. So it's my home. It's the place where I work, sleep, and play and breathe and enjoy my family and community. So I decided to run because I've seen the changes. I've seen the non-growth, as we could say, because yeah, growing up in District 6, District 6 used to be very vibrant, and you had a lot of people in the community that were just all around thriving. But now you see buildings that once were have deteriorated or they've been destroyed. The people that once were here, they're gone now because of gentrification. We have a housing crisis now, so we're being priced out of our own community. You have predators who are calling night and day asking to buy your houses, offering you very little amount of money to even move anywhere else or rebuild, but yet they still harass and they prey on elderly and people who have generational wealth passed on to them that they could keep, and they offer very little amounts of money for it.
Interesting. Kind of delve a little deeper into that, kind of in terms of, because I did want to ask you about that. Obviously, Orange County sees a lot of growth. There's, you know, the stats were saying, and this is pre-pandemic, the stats were like 1,500 people were moving into Orange County pretty much every week. So I did want to ask you a little bit about how that has affected a lot of the African-American communities and sort of that sort of explosion in terms of populations moving in. You mentioned the real estate investment boom, but also
Right.
just the physical population, like folks that are actually moving into some of these communities. Kind of talk about what you've been seeing.
Well, what I've been seeing is that rent averages are between $1,300 to $2,000 a month for properties that used to run you anywhere from $1,000 to $1,200 a month. And when you're a person who barely makes $15 an hour, the average person needs to make at least 25 to 35 dollars an hour just to live comfortable, to be able to pay their bills and manage. And minimum wage is just barely $10 an hour. You need two or three incomes just to make ends meet. The problem is you have lots of landlords. Most of them are absentee.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at empty, vacant houses in your community, a lot of these landlords are from out of state. They're from New Jersey, New York. They're not local, so it's not like you can kind of reach out and be within arm's reach of a landlord. They're nowhere to be found. They buy these properties here sight unseen, and they charge astronomical rent as if you were living in New York or other areas. A lot of people have come and bought property sight unseen and found out that the property that they purchased, they don't own it. So that makes them
Mm-hmm.
homeless. And The other challenges is that you need anywhere between $5,000 to $8,000 just to get in a property now. You got a background check fee, you have a deposit, you have a application fee, and all of those things are non-refundable. So if you've saved up anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 to get in a place to stay, and then they deny you because of your credit or your background, what have you, now you got to try to save all of that money all over again just to get in another place, and you're back at square one. And I think it's unfortunate and unfair that you have these landlords that are making money time and time and time again. It's a revolving door for them to be able to just make money off of poor people. So they're preying on those people that, we face so many challenges. You have the pandemic that just happened. Some
Mhm.
people already had medical issues prior to the pandemic. Now you have medical bills on your credit report. That puts you out of the running for a lot of these landlords because they look at you as a risk. It's no fault of your own that you got sick. And definitely now that we've had this pandemic and people have racked up medical bills,
Mhm.
it's disheartening and unfortunate that we have such an issue with housing here. Then you have other agencies who were assisting with rental. Our Florida, I believe today is the last day that they are operating.
Mm.
A lot of people from our Florida, they were approved for rental assistance back in November, and they've yet to receive that money in their behalf to these landlords. So I've talked to a lot of people who have received 7-day notices, or some have already been evicted because the money has not even showed up with the landlord that they were renting from.
Interesting. Very interesting. And before we go into this first commercial break, kind of talk about how you would remedy this problem, or what the first steps would be, should you get elected, to start turning this around for everybody.
Well, I definitely would push for a moratorium in Orange County to put a cap on rental assistance, as well as the landlords having a cap where they can't abuse getting a deposit and it's non-refundable. I believe that if you're going to turn down a prospective client to rent
Mhm.
from your property, they should be able to get some of their money back. I understand there's a fee for background checks and credit checks, and you want to give them a deposit, but at the same token, let's be fair about this. Let's be reasonable. These are people who've worked hard to save their money just so they can have a place to stay. And when you have a large percent of Disney employees and Universal employees who are homeless, but they work for Disney. Disney work
Wow.
yeah, they make so much money. And then on top of that, you have the government, Orange County government and City of Orlando, they collectively own so many properties. They're in the real estate business as well.
Hmm.
And they've obtained these properties through code enforcement liens and abandoned properties because someone may have died and they had no heirs, so they've been able to claim these properties. They should sell them to working class people.
There's a thought. That's something that's not discussed very often. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Kind of dig in a little bit more in that. Like, what would the process be for something like that? If say in the ideal world you were able to, you and the commission, if you will, were able to convince Orange County or the city of Orlando to do that, what would that process look like in terms of them making some of those lands available for regular people to make those purchases?
Well, at one point, the county did have a program. They had so much inventory that they did sell to the public, but a lot of people who knew about it were investors. So
Mm,
the regular public was not privy to this information so that they could be in the running to even purchase these properties. The county and the city, they both have down payment assistance programs. They have a real estate department.
Hmm.
So between down payment assistance and other programs that are out there, their real estate department has the ability to sell these properties to working class people and make it affordable so that they can move in these properties and they're not vacant.
Right, and that does kind of create an eyesore when they are vacant, because
Right.
we see that in certain parts of town, namely the parts of town with predominant residents of color. So we definitely we'll talk a little bit more about that. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a very brief commercial break. We're going to come back and keep the conversation going, guys. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm not picking it up. You pick it up.
I'm not picking it up.
Well, somebody's got to pick it up.
I'll pick it up. They're clean. 'Cause my hand is clean. Oh yeah, I'm Charmin clean. That's how I know they're clean.
Charmin Ultra Strong is woven like a washcloth and just cleans better.
Yeah, I'm Charmin clean.
The kid does have a
That's
point.
My hand is clean. Yeah.
Enjoy the go with Charmin. And for an extra clean finish, try Charmin Flushable Wipes.
All right, guys, welcome back to the FNN Politics and Power Series. We are speaking with Cynthia Harris, who is currently running for Orange County District 6, Orange County Commission District 6. So, obviously we talked a lot about, the real estate investment boom that we're seeing in Orange County, particularly in communities of color, because in those areas, the property values are low enough that investors can pretty much make a steal. Like, it's very easy to make those purchases. Obviously, we also talked about the increase in rent that we're seeing. But I also wanted to give the audience an opportunity to fully flesh out your platform. This is obviously something you're very passionate about, but what else are you running on, and what do you stand for in terms of your current campaign for District 6?
Information transparency. We've had people who have been in these positions and they have not given the public the information that they need, such as programs like they once had in the county where they did sell off some of the inventory.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that you're as the representative for the people, you work for the people don't work for you. And you should be able to pass on this information so that collectively the people can make a decision as to how they want their communities governed. And we've so often had people who have given information at the 11th hour when it's too late, or they'll say, well, I've known about this program for years, but you've only made this program available to the select few within your inner circle. I believe every person that's part of your constituency should have this information so that they can make a decision on how they want to govern in their community. And we just have not had any type of transparency where information has been given to us until the sheriff is standing at your door with the eviction notice and the bulldozer is sitting on the sidewalk waiting to bulldoze your property. So when you are elected official, you should be able to give that information to the community, allow them to process it and make a decision collectively, because they are the ones that hire and fire their representative, not the other way around. The people don't work for the elected official. I also want to make sure that we have more entrepreneurship in our community and jobs available. So often when we have job fairs in our community, they're for low wage jobs. There are plenty of people in our community that have degrees and they have other skills besides working in fast food restaurants. And that's what you currently see when the jobs are available. They may be some hospitality industry jobs, but they're for low wages. You have fast food, but there are so many other industries out there and corporations that could be attending these job fairs and offering jobs, but we don't see them. You have to travel out of your community just to have that opportunity, or you have to go through other search engines like Indeed, or
Mm-hmm.
go to that particular company and apply within there, we should be able to bring the mountain to Muhammad when it comes to having job equity and opportunities. We often always talk about we want equality, but we don't have equity. And without equity, there is no equality. So we need to make sure that when we're talking about having equality, that the equity component is put into that motion so that we have the same opportunities to apply for the same high wage jobs, not low wage jobs. I believe that these jobs have been stereotyped when it comes to job fairs in our community. We should be able to do financial planning and financial education and learn about credit, because credit is what hurts us when it comes to housing.
Mm-hmm.
Medical bills and healthy choices. Being unhealthy leads to you being sick, leads to you going to the emergency room, leads to you not being able to afford your bill because we don't have Medicare
Mm-hmm.
expansion here, and you don't qualify for Medicaid because even though you have low wages, you don't qualify because our previous governors have not allowed Medicaid expansion in our state. So therefore, you're going to the emergency room. You can't afford the Affordable Care Act plans through the marketplace, because if your income is little or nothing, you're running anywhere to $1,000 a month for health insurance. And we should not be paying a premium so high when that's your rent. That's now with the gas prices, that's your
Oh
gas.
yeah.
So so you have to make a decision. Should I pay a premium on healthcare? Should I pay for medicine that I so dearly need that I may not be able to qualify for any type of health insurance so that I can offset the cost of high prices of medicine? So it's a lot of things that we have to consider, and when you're talking about financial planning and financial education and getting your credit straight and understanding credit,
Mm-hmm.
we need those components in our community.
And as someone who would be in that seat, well, what would that look like for you? Is that something where you would encourage certain folks in the community that have that financial literacy, that are willing to teach it, like kind of encourage them to put on those courses for the community? What would that look like for you if you're in that seat?
Well, there are nonprofits that do offer that component,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of people, like I said, not aware because we lack the information
Mm-hmm.
given to us. So we may have elected officials that are aware of these various nonprofits and resources, but we're not telling the people who need them. Sometimes there are so many nonprofit agencies and resources that are right around the corner within walking distance, but you never knew they were there, and they may have been there 10, 15, 25 years, and you're unaware of what's right up under your nose, right at your fingertips, within reach. So educating educating our community on financial planning, financial wealth, and the things that are are dire to our community. We need to have those. So if I'm partnering with the nonprofit agencies, and if I am trying to make sure that the information is within reach,
Mm-hmm.
we could also work on trying to apply for more grants and funding so that we could fund these programs, so that we could teach more people on financial literacy, as well as a lot of people who are maybe wanting to buy property. They don't understand the do's and don'ts and whatever for even down payment assistance programs so that they
Yeah.
can purchase properties and how to be credit ready. And a lot of people, I used to do mortgages. And a lot of times people would come and say, well, I saw the sign. It says if I pay $1,200 or $1,500 a month in rent, I can afford to get a house. Well, yeah, you can.
But
However, if your credit is in dire straits, if you have some blemishes, you're going to have to pay all of that stuff off
mhm,
to make sure that the creditor, the lender is going to allow you to get money because you're at risk because of your past.
right,
Medical bills, that thank goodness there's going to be some changes next month where it comes to medical bills being reported on your credit. So that's going to be a good thing that, a lot of times people have medical bills and they're under $500. I think
right.
they should have raised the price a little higher and say if $1,000 or less should not be reported, but $500 is a start because when you're $100 here, $200 here, those things add up, especially when you're utilizing the emergency room just for basic health care because you can't afford insurance.
Plus, a lot of those prices come from just medication alone. Like
Yes,
meds are expensive depending
yes,
on the condition.
yes,
Absolutely. So I wanted to also get into something that some folks may know, some folks may not know, but you're someone who has been in the community a very long time, and this is not your first rodeo in terms of running for public office. So I wanted to
yes.
find out, wanted to find out what keeps you going, what makes you decide to keep pushing in terms of running for public office. Like what fires you up to keep running for whatever you can succeed for.
So when I am able to see people on the streets that pointed out resources to, and they
Hmm.
say, "Well, hey, thank you so much because of you, I was able to do the same. I was able to do the things that I needed to do to be successful or to succeed."
Hmm.
That keeps me going. I've partnered with other nonprofit agencies. I live in Malibu Groves. We were able to put $7 million into our community through rehabilitation in our partnership with Habitat. We, in 4.5 years, we did 67 houses.
Hmm.
They got new roofs. They got electric breaker boxes. They got hot water heaters, they got kitchen appliances, they got their plumbing redone. It was just a lot of things that when you got houses that are 55 plus years old,
Hmm.
that they wouldn't been able to do on their own without assistance. It's a feel good moment to be able to say, well, hey, we're rebuilding our community. We're rebranding ourselves to be self-sufficient and to be able to live comfortably in our own communities. We shouldn't have to move out of our communities just to enjoy basic life and necessities. So my motivation is just the people and the people that I've been able to help um, just just thrive and be successful in their own community.
Very true, and thanks for sharing that because I know it's been a minute. It's been
Yes.
a minute. You're very active in the community, so thank you for what you continue to do. We're going to take a brief commercial break. And of course, guys, you always know that I like to dig into the person a little bit as we wind down to the end of the show. So we'll kind of piggyback on what Cynthia just mentioned in terms of her work in the community, the feedback that she gets from everyone as she does her work. So stay tuned. We will be right back after this brief break.
The Florida Lottery is proud to support education by contributing billions of dollars to Florida schools and awarding countless Bright Future scholarships so Florida students can do more than just dream of a brighter future. They can create one. Learn more at flalottery.com.
And we are back with the FNN Politics and Power Series, kind of wrapping things up, winding things down with Cynthia Harris, who's a candidate for Orange County Commissioner for District 6. So, I mean, on your tougher days, when you're pushing for provision for the folks in District 6, in the various communities you represent, like, other than obviously when things come through and you finally get to hear the thank you, like what is your biggest why on those days when things are frustrating, when you're coming across like the red tape? Because anything that's dealing with government usually takes a little bit longer to process because of all the paperwork that's involved. Kind of talk about what pushes you forward.
Well, what pushes me forward is the fact that I've been successful. So, like I said, I live in this community. I grew up in this community. I still live in the community that I was raised in. I've seen the changes. I've seen the struggles. I know what makes most people tick in the community. So with those things and the thank yous and the frustration, and sometimes I told somebody jokingly recently, I said, sometimes I feel like Harriet Tubman, trying to free people from the things that that have bound our community. But at the end of the day, just like Harriet, I keep pushing. And she was able to save a lot of people, and a lot of people were able to be sustainable for the rest of their lives through their personal freedoms and liberties that they were able to enjoy for the rest of their lives.
And lastly, like, I know this wasn't on like the list of questions I sent, but kind of paint the picture of the District 6 that you want to see. Like, what is that ideal that you want to see?
Well, what I'd like to see is the same revitalization process that we were able to do in my community in Malibu Groves. I'd like to see that in Timber Scan and 29th Street and other communities that are deteriorating. I'd like to, we need the growth and we need the improvements, but we don't need to be the Trail of Tears. And right now, what I see is the process of gentrification. We have become the Trail of Tears. We've been pushed out, just like the Indians were pushed out and pushed away from their properties. And I don't want it to be 50 years later, they decide, okay, we don't want this area anymore, and we're going to give it back to you. I've seen that in other areas in other states where they pushed the Indians out and now they've given them back their land that was rightfully theirs. We should be able to live, as the Constitution say, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We should be able to obtain that, and we should not have to move out of our areas and the confines of our boundaries to be happy and sustainable and be safe.
Very, very true. Is there anything else as we wrap up here that you want to share with our audience that maybe we haven't discussed yet?
Like I said, you can look at my platform and see what I'm all about on electcynthiaharris.com. You could check out my Facebook page. You can see the things and the works that I've done through the years on Cynthia Harris for Orange County Commissioner on Facebook. You can Google my name. You probably can find me. It's a common name, and I'm not the only person who with the name Cynthia Harris who's run for office. So Cynthia Harris is a common name, and there is another person who has held public office with the same name. But in between your Google search, you still can find Cynthia Harris.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Again, I appreciate you. And guys, if you want to find out more, as she mentioned, the website is down below. Just make sure to hit up that website or find her on Facebook. And if I'm not mistaken, you also have an Instagram, right?
Instagram is Elect Cynthia. Yeah, and I have a LinkedIn. It's that's under Cynthia Harris. So and also have YouTube.
There you go. So if you guys have all of the touch points, she made sure that she was easily available. So if you have any questions for her, make sure to hit her up. Cynthia, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for us here at the FNN Politics and Power Series. I'm Mellissa Thomas, your humble host. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. As I like to mention, if you haven't yet, be sure to like, share, subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff, okay? You'll find us at FNN News TV, where we live stream on Facebook. You'll find us on YouTube at FNN News TV. We're starting to streamline some things there as well. So FNN News TV on Facebook, FNN News TV on YouTube, on Instagram, still the same handle over there. So make sure you check us out over there as well. But as always, we'll be coming back to you Thursday. Next week, it will be 1 p.m. And for all of our other programming, be sure to check us out at FNN News TV to see all of our live streams as well. On YouTube, be sure to subscribe, okay? Make sure you don't miss a single one of our live streams, a single one of our news updates or interviews. So in the meantime, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your Thursday. You guys take care.